We used to have hats in the olden days, we used to have cars, and now we've got Carnival. It came out of the fact that it's very, very hard to find one central making space to produce costumes for a carnival year on year.
It's not a straightforward building at all. It is a huge mix of very innovative and creative ideas.
When it got to the planning application, we were told that we weren't going to get permission for anything that wasn't brick. So we then started thinking about brick and realised that it was quite an appropriate material for Luton. Although, you know, maybe not a brick box, we thought we could build a brick camp and use brick in a different kind of way that did feel quite contemporary.
The sort of design and aspirations of the town are quite ambitious and in flux, so there's a huge amount of development. So we sort of knew that we were part of the piece.
The inspiration is largely from Luton as well. The idea of being part of the hat factory district, sort of a place where things are sort of made.
For us, you know, just bringing a building which is kind of quite complex in terms of its shape and the kind of connection of different materials and stuff coming together posed a bit of a challenge.
What are the really critical things for people making outdoor events? What's the balance of inside and outside space?
There were various stages of the design. At the earliest stage, which is called feasibility, we looked at using the existing building, the student youth house. The structural engineers looked at it and the space requirements weren't suitable.
This cartoon for us was this idea of the building being open within itself and also open to the street. So that's why we showed this thing being pulled apart. And when you pull something apart, the rain and plants and just air gets in there, and it's just a more enlivening atmosphere. And also really useful when you're preparing outdoor events to actually practice in a place which is outside rather than in a hall. The building had to work for lots of different people, and they all had different stuff to store. So we had to make sure that not only did we have some nice big flexible spaces, but that we had spaces where you could literally open a big door, sweep a load of half-constructed objects into it.
A building like this is not a very traditional design. It's not square, you know, it's doing different things with quite unusual art form. So there's particular challenges around changing the perception about what's permissible, you know, what's normal, what's not normal. Our neighbour is the only Grade 1 listed building in Luton, St Mary's Church. And what that means is that any building that wants to come next to it actually has to go through a lot of rigour in terms of making sure that there's no historical artefacts. So we had to conduct a whole lot of surveys, and once we found that there wasn't anything there, we weren't going to find Boadicea's remains. They actually said, fine, you can actually start to build. You know, Luton's always had a very sort of party atmosphere, and it's always wanted to do things about its community in some ways, you know, coming from the peace riots way, way back. So I think what we're proposing is something that's been a long time coming.
I don't know about you, but I come out right now to get on. Bad, 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 bad. Get 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 bad, 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 bad. I trust you. Hey, trust you. I trust you for my mama. I trust you to pray mama. I trust you for way mama. I trust you is a great mama. Show me what you got and give me that. Give me that, give me that, give me that. Give me that, give me that, give me that. Give me that, give me that. Give me that, give me that, give me that. Give me that, give me that. Give me that, give me that, give me that. Give me that, give me that, give me that. Yo, don't feel no way if I whine on you. Trust you, trust you. Step on me, I wouldn't take time on you. Trust you, trust you. I power taking over me. Right now, trust it, trust it.
Seeing the excitement and hearing people say, oh, it was brilliant, and you know, thank God it's in Luton and we have this space and I'm enjoying the music, and those queens were so huge. I didn't think how they would be able to move, and you know, it was like, wow,
I think we've added to the physical environment of the town centre in a very positive way. There are a lot of things which individually, interesting, some you like, some you don't like. And in theory they shouldn't all work together, but actually in a way they do, because it makes a kind of mad carnival building.
As far as the community is concerned, the wider and local community is that there's an overall blessing that this place is very much needed. And we had that all the way through the planning process to its build today.
The bigger challenge now is making a go of it for the long term. I hand over here at this point to Paul and his team to say, right, there's the building, and let's hope that the ambitions that we had for it 4 or 5 years ago can all be realised.
I had the experience of actually moving in and seeing the building come to life in Luton and how people responded to it, and having a major launch and these huge costumes parading through the streets. I've been told that does never really happen at night before in Luton, so it was a great feat. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun work as well, and fulfilling work. So the journey has now begun.